Hi there. We promised in the last video that we'd set up our first, I would program our first web page. So let's go ahead and do that. Right now, as you can see, I've got on the screen here just a directory I've created for tutorial. What we want to do is create. As I mentioned before, we want to create a. So we want with Notepad on to create our file where we're going to start writing our code. Okay, so we just got a new file, hasn't got a name yet. Let's give it a name and we'll save it, even though it's just an empty file at the moment. So when we're doing web pages, we can refer directly to the file we're actually using, or another way is we could use an index, because when we're talking about web pages, it looks if you might have a heap of files in the folder, but the index is, if no file is specified, it's going to read always the index file. Okay, and we're going to put an extension which is HTML. Okay, so our web pages, the basics of all web pages is always the HTML. What is HTML, you'd say? What do those letters mean? It's a good practice. If you have any doubts, just look it up, okay? So we're going to do this because the idea of this is not just to spoon feed you. It's so you can go ahead and know how to look up things, know how to go ahead, okay? So there's the first link we've found when I put into Google, or when I'm using a different search engine than DuckDuckGo one. But so we've found HTML. So we'd want to find a reference on what does it stand for. Introduction, maybe in the introduction, stands for Hypertext Markup Language. So as we can see here, okay, HTML is the standard markup language for creating web pages. That's what we're going to do now. Okay, so what is HTML? It's basically constructed with different, so that's why we have the extension. We'll go back to this, sorry, before I explain more things. Index HTML and save. Okay, I'm going to look for this to make sure it's been saved properly, and it has. Okay, why did I want to check that properly? Because you'd have to look, I've got the file name extension, so we can see the file name extensions. If I click that, if I turn that off, we can't see the extension here. Okay, but when we're doing program, sometimes it's good to see these things, which is why I'd usually have this enabled so we can see the extension. Because sometimes maybe you want to, if we'd saved this file, normally, as you can see, it's trying to save it with a TXT extension. Okay, we want to avoid that so that it's recognized as a HTML file. Okay, otherwise it'll be just a plain text, and as you know, the extension, it has the file, it enables it to be opened directly by the associated application. So in this case, if it's HTML, it's the web browser that it's going to open. And since I've got Chrome as the default browser on my machine here, that's why it's given it the Chrome icon. Okay, so what does a web page look like inside? We can actually just start like this, right? Doc type, HTML, and we've got these less than and greater sign. So this is just to declare first tag. This is called a tag, okay? So this tag just says what this document is, what kind of document it is. Like what document type is it? It's a HTML document. In the latest version, HTML5 of this will do, but for earlier versions, this doc type tag was really long and it had heaps of stuff. So Anyway, for now on, that'll do us to declare what type of document it is. Then we just start directly with another tag, which is HTML. As you can see, HTML is basically a heap of tags. It's nothing else, which are going to be like elements. We call them elements that we're including on the web page. So a HTML document has got that doc type, and then that we're declaring, and now we've got the HTML tags. The tags usually, almost always, they should have an opening tag and a closing tag. So they'll be called the same way. So we're opening the HTML tag, and here with including that /, that's how we close the HTML tag. Okay, that's something that we're going to be repeating all over the place. In some cases, we can omit the closing tag but the usual thing is to open. When you open a tag, you close it at the same time, and then we put stuff in the middle. Okay, so what are we going to put in the middle of our HTML document? It's divided into two parts, basically, a head and a body. So we'll write head. This is our head tag that we open, and we know that we have to close it. We close the head tag, and the other one was a body, so we do the same thing. Body, we open and we close the body. Okay, so in our web page we've got a head and a body. What's the head for? The head is for putting things more like loading resources, defining certain things that are going to be used in the web page, and the body is actually where the things we're going to see. Okay, it's the actual content of the page. Okay, so what can we put in the head? Well, one of the things we can put in the head is a title for our web page. So there's a tag for the title, and we'll just write here my first web page, and we close the tag. And in our body, this is where our content goes. So we can have a heap of different tags here, which are going to be the elements of but we're just to be simplified, we're just going to put plain text. Is going to be our content, and it's going to be hello world, which is kind of the traditional thing in programming, to have a hello world program which is going to output something that you can see as a user, and something you write from your code to see that it's actually working. So I've just saved that, right? We've already got the name and all that, so I just saved this file. Now we can go back, and I'm going to open this. Okay, and it's opened directly in my web page, in my browser, sorry. And as we can see, we've got I'm going to close some of this stuff. I've got my first web page is the title we established before, and the content is hello world. So there you go. We've made our first web page using HTML and stuff we've programmed ourselves. So we'll start getting into building up this web page a bit better in the next video.